Well, I am so delighted to continue our series here of interviewing great minds and great thinkers and great hearts of the New Thought movement. And today it's my deep joy to welcome a friend and a mentor, a teacher who has deeply affected my life and my path and that of our community at Unity of Houston. Mary Morrissey is an internationally known teacher and teacher of teachers, an author, facilitator. She is just really one of the greats. She, like our own Howard Caesar, was one of the founders of AG&T. I could read a long bio, but I think I just really wanted to just say, Mary, thank you so much for being with us today. And before we launch into the questions, just tell us how you and Joe and your family and kids are doing during this time. Tell me what's going on.
Thank you. Hi. I would say hi to each one of you.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing great, Michael. You know, we've been like many of you, isolating and what they call it, shelter in place. We've been sheltered in place since March 13th. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's given some space and time. And I feel I wouldn't have chosen this. I don't think any of us would have chosen this. And yet, like anything, Napoleon Hill said, within every adversity, every disappointment, every heartache, there is an equal or greater benefit, the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But like any seed, it has to be found and planted and grown and nurtured and finally harvested. And so I've been looking for the seeds, you know, busy in planting those seeds of possibilities that are here in this moment. You know, we're in a, Hart Desjardins talked about that there's not just an atmosphere, there's a noosphere or a thinking layer. And we're in a world of people who are the place for unity right now, the place for your teachings, Michael, what you bring every single week, what your church has stood for so many years as a lighthouse in this world. There's not a better time for us to be practicing the teachings and staying close to the inspiration and really putting on this is who I am as a unity person than I think ever before. And the gift of this time is that the practice is required so we stay on top of the problem.
That's exactly right. I'm feeling the same way, that there has to be a gift in this if we're willing to do the work. And Mary, you have been teaching this manifestation technology. I love when you quote Napoleon Hill and Thomas Troward and all of the early pioneers of our movement. You have such a deep knowledge of the way this stuff works. If you were to identify what is the one thing that keeps people from manifesting their dreams, what is the thing that stands in the way?
The art and science of transformation. What really brings change into our life, not just kind of the flash of the pan change, but the sustainable, growthful change of transformation. Two things. The art is in the visioning. So either people don't have a crystal clear vision. They know they want their life to be better. They know they want, I'm tired of the struggle. They know what they don't want, but they don't have a crystal clear vision of what they do want. And, God gave us a brain that operates between us and the mind of the infinite. That switching station, even God can't cash a check you don't have a specific amount on. So you have to describe the life, get this crystal clear clarity is number one. That's the vision is the art. You're designing that life. What would you love? Not what do you think you can have, what would make it a little bit better, but really the question, God's name is love. What would you love? And really lean into that, not just a snap your fingers decision, but really lean into that till you really, no matter what the conditions are now, this is what I would absolutely love. And know that you have a power in you that knows how to do that. You don't even have to know how, but you do have to know what. So once you get clear on the vision, then what happens for most people who don't attend regularly, one message now and then isn't going to do it. But if you attend regularly, what's going to happen is going to change your vibration. Mm-hmm. The art is in the visioning, the science is in the vibration. And if you're coming from lack, always thinking lack, but you want abundance, they're not on the same frequency. So how do you have apparent lack in your current circumstances and think from and feel abundance? And that's what you train people in and help people with and encourage people with. Another name for that is faith. Yeah. But faith is your believing power. And everyone has exactly the same amount of faith. But it's on what do you put your faith? Do you put it on the altar of circumstances? You know, if that only changed, then I could. Or do you put it on the very power breathing you? You know, every one of us, our eyes opened this morning, but we didn't wake ourselves up. The alarm didn't wake us. The sun on our face didn't wake us. The barking dog didn't wake us. Spirit, life woke us up and proclaimed itself, I am, uniquely in each and every one of us. And that life is seeking greater, freer, fuller, expanded expression of itself. So it sends us ideas of that possibility. So either it's not out of clarity in the art or a mismatch in our vibration. We're not a match for the thing we say we want.
And I love what you're telling me, Mary, because, and this is what I have found. It's hard to believe because I still think of myself as the new kid in the classroom, but I've been doing this for 27 years. I've been on this path too. And I've seen.
Before you go there, I just want to say what I love about that. Those of us that feel that way, we're going to continue to grow and expand.
Well, thank you.
Every week when people come, I know they're getting you fresh growth.
I will tell you, I never have trouble giving a Sunday message because I teach from what you talk about, the green and growing edge of my own becoming. I teach from what I'm excited about learning. And I think that what you just shared, Mary, is so encouraging because no matter where your vibration is now, you can change it. You can do the practices and I gave a talk and I used a dirty word a couple of weeks ago on discipline, you know, that people, they're beginning to understand this. I think that we're all in this for the long haul. And if you're looking for the quick fix and the instant manifestation, you're not willing to change. It's not going to work. And I see that so often.
It's interesting because we all know this. Mm-hmm. We know it with our television. We wouldn't tune to one frequency and expect to see the picture that's on a different frequency.
That's right.
Or our phone or our radio. We know to go to the frequency that we want on what's on that frequency.
That's exactly right. So I'm curious too, what your thoughts are on this idea. You know, I come from a 12-step background, and one of the fundamental beliefs in that spiritual teaching is that I'm responsible for my own experience. And also the you spot it, you got it. So if there's a problem going on, we always are taught to look within first. Mm-hmm. And yet now we're going through this circumstance, which is global. And, you know, the economic impact is global. And I know that my consciousness isn't solely creating this pandemic and the economic downturn and everything. So what is the relationship there between the global experience and the individual's consciousness on their path of becoming?
Exactly. First of all, it's 100% true that I am 100% responsible for the experience I'm having. The experience I'm having is I'm not 100% responsible, or any of us, for the pandemic. Mm-hmm. We're not responsible for what the weather's doing today. We're not responsible for decisions my boss makes or anybody else makes, but I am responsible for my experience of that, which is an inside out generated experience. Simple example. We're going on a picnic. We've got the picnic basket packed. We planned all week about it. It's going to be gorgeous this weekend. We open the door. We're all packed, kids in hand, and it's pouring down rain. Mm-hmm. Either the rain ruined our day, or we say, okay, it's raining. Let's put out our blanket here, build a fire, and we'll have our picnic. I mean, you get to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to be, no matter what the circumstances. And that's the power of unity. I mean, that's a fundamental teaching for us.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's great. I'm going to turn a little bit to what we're exploring this month at Unity of Houston. And this is the third of 3-month series. The first, we talked about the revolution of spirit. It's the change and the growth aspect. Then around Easter and for April, we talked about the revelation, that we are here to reveal the spiritual nature of reality in our own lives. And this month, we're talking about the realization of spirit, the way we begin to take the unformed potentiality of God and put it into our lives in a way that we really want to see it. And this Sunday, when we're airing this, it's going to be on relationships. It's also Mother's Day. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute too. But do you have any insights for us on how we can create the relationships we want in our lives?
Or in the external part of our life?
Yeah.
Well, two things. And I just want to say one more thing about our last talk about in this time. Yeah. The fact that you and I create our own experience is real. And I don't want us to ignore the impact of the outside pressure right now of this circumstance.
Thank you.
When the external circumstances have more pressure to them, you notice it. The balancing, right now we all have 14.6 pounds of atmospheric pressure on every inch of our body pressing in, but we don't even notice it because the way the gift of the intelligence that created this body presses 14.6 pounds outward. We call it stasis. So you don't wake up wondering if you're going to go flat today by the outside pressure.
Right.
But when you have more emotional pressure, more pressure of facts, and as you mentioned, the economic condition and the jobs and the friends and the dis-ease and all of that, it can feel so much like it's coming at you. The only antidote to that is to go deeper in you, in a relationship between you and spirit, which brings balance to it. And it's available to every single one of us. This is the gift of the pressure, is the ability to use that pressure as an impetus to go deeper. And it fits right into your relationship focus right now, because we have a current relationship with the infinite side of our nature, with God, with higher power, however you refer to it, each one of us. Right now we have a current relationship, but like any relationship, it's not static. It's either growing together or growing apart. Just the way in terms your spouses, your friends, we're either growing closer or we're bringing more distance. And to be conscious about that I heard, a Vietnamese monk named Thich Nhat Hanh, many, many years ago, I had the privilege of listening to him say something that stuck with me forever. When he said, when people ask me, how often do I meditate? I tell them constantly.
Wow.
That it's practicing the presence, as Brother Lawrence would say, about our connection with the infinite. And that's something circumstances can't keep us from unless we decide it will. So the other question is how to grow closer in our relationships now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, first of all, you want to have a vision for that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get really clear about if the relationship area of your life, you have one anyway, is it rich? Is it wealthy? Is it when you're in the relationship domain of your life, do you come alive, or are you just kind of dialing it in? And if you want a relationship that you're currently in to get better, have a vision for that. And then take the responsibility yourself, not for what the other person's going to do, but for who you're going to be. That's really the only thing you can take responsibility for. If you want to pour more love into it, be sure it's not a love to get. You're not trying to get something from them. You're pouring love because that's what you do. You pour love into relationships you care about. And you'll notice a human side of you that's going to want to get appreciation or get acknowledgement but if you just dial that down long enough to give in a way that you don't harvest a garden the moment you put a seed in there. You know that there's a law of reciprocity, that if you take good care of that garden and you nurture it, either that plant's going to grow or another one's going to grow. It is going to produce a harvest with caretaking. And it's interesting, sometimes someone may not respond to you right away. So you'll evaluate that, you'll decide, but you can have, no matter what, you could have a very, very rich relationship life if you get a vision for it and then act from your vision, not from the circumstances. People sometimes get lost in, I've called you 3 times and you haven't called me back. That's giving with strings.
Yeah.
We're pulling, so there's give to get, there's give with strings. And then there's another kind of giving called give to live. And that's really what unity teaches us, is that the more we give into love, the more love we feel. That we're not getting it from another person. Love is our teacher. Love itself is our teacher. And we get groomed and grown as we practice more loving.
That's beautiful. I love the metaphor as being a gardener for a relationship aspect of our lives. And, a good gardener will turn any patch of earth into abundance and beauty. And they'll bring in what they need to enrich the soil. They will tend to the plants they plant. They'll even know what plants to plant. There's something that's really going to work me this week. I can feel that it's not dependent upon the circumstances, and we can create what we want, what we would love. You've taught me that so many times at so many levels, Mary. So we are celebrating Mother's Day this week, and I want to wish you a happy Mother's Day, a little early as we're doing this interview on the Wednesday before. And I've heard you speak so much about your experience as being a mom and a grandmother, and then also your own relationship with your own mom. And you talked about those last years of her life being the most productive and rich. And so I just, what's the greatest gift you have received from motherhood that you would like to share with me today?
Oh, that's a beautiful question, Michael. Tomorrow is the 10th anniversary of my mother's death.
Oh, wow.
So it's been very much in my mind in reflection. She had a heart attack. She came to visit for a week, had a heart attack. She was going to pass. So then she had a whole day where she could call everyone that she knew, and she was slipping. And then she said, if I can just get out of here before midnight tonight, Mary, my death day will never be on Mother's Day.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, who thinks this way? Who thinks this way? And then I knew who tends to think that way is a woman who just didn't have a mother. My mother's mother died when my mother was too young to ever remember her. So she was 3. And so there was always the gap of wishing that she had that presence in her life. So she poured herself into being, not all moms then pour themselves into being a great mom, but she had a great grandmother who taught her. So for me, the greatest gift of being a mom is not just when my kids were little and growing, and then every era is the next level of not just their curriculum, but mine. Yeah. Including as they become adults, parenting adult children, where you're no longer, have the right to give advice unasked, as you become. I wanted to be a great mom during my earlier years, but I realized as my children grew up, my oldest son is 52. My youngest son is 41. So I've got a nice bookend on these kids, and I've got a daughter in there too. It's just all different curriculum, and the same thing with the grandkids. You have a different relationship, actually different rights, not like you had as the birth parent. So finding your way with that, seeking to be a rich influence of support and care and encouragement, but not a director. So it's just always curriculum for me. And I wanted to speak to the fact that I have not only 4 beautiful kids I gave birth to, but I have in my life amazing, what I call bonus kids.
That's right.
And they live in my heart in the same way. And I'm just very grateful. So yeah, I think, and sometimes we have adopted kids. I don't mean legally adopted, although we can. I mean, kids, nieces, nephews. We don't have to birth children we can mother projects. I mean, for any woman, and every one of us here, every one of us listening to this message, we had a mom. It may not, she may not, we will never know. As much as we think we know about her story, we will never know her entire story. We will never know her entire story, the influencers that helped shape her. And remember, our mothers came from a different era. Many of our mothers never even heard of unity, didn't know that we could shift our thinking. They didn't know. They can only lead us to the level of their highest awareness. And some of them didn't have a ton of awareness. So on Mother's Day, no matter what the upbringing, no matter what it is, and whether they're in this dimension or the next, that woman was the means by which I got to come into this experience called my human life. And we can have reverence and deep gratitude for all the things that she ever did or didn't do in our lives, because if anything had been different, we would be different.
Oh, that is so beautiful. John Moore, my partner, his work is so much about healing the unconscious family loyalties. And one of the keys of the family constellations work is that if we don't honor our mother or our father, that we are harming ourselves, because what the family's soul desires is for love to move forward. And as you say, some mothers didn't have the tools or the awareness. They didn't have they had a curriculum, they may not have known it. But from the other side, I've found that when I'm talking to people who had a tough relationship with their mom, particularly when the mom has passed, if you can heal that relationship to recognize that deep down in their soul, they did want you to succeed. I saw a beautiful thing yesterday. John Krasinski, actor, was on The Office. He's got a new thing he started during the pandemic called GSN. It's what is it called? Good Stuff News. It's really great. And he's just finding these positive stories. He put together a graduation ceremony, and he got Oprah to do, she answered this girl who's graduating from Harvard, totally surprised her by she got to ask Oprah her question, and Oprah got to answer the question. And what Oprah said was to this young woman who is a poet, she's the first youth poet laureate in America. She said, "You wear the crown your ancestors made." And there was something so beautiful about that idea that as we honor and you honor your mother so beautifully, and I know your kids, I know that they honor you and your grandkids honor you. It's that love continues to evolve and grow through the generations in the family. So anyway, I've just got inspired. I'm supposed to be interviewing you, not talking about my insights and revelations. So I do want to just say thank you again for being here today, Mary. And you know, your gardening of our community has been so fruitful for so long. We have a lot of people in our church who they've studied under you, they're coaching, they've built careers of coaching and in teaching this material out into the world. We have quite a few. And your Prosperity Plus work continues to shape and grow our consciousness here at Unity. And your generosity continues. I was told that you have a gift for our community. And if I got this right, you're offering, it's the 30 Days of Brave Thinking, featuring 5 days of your standing firm when your world is shaking. Can you tell us about what this is that you're offering for our community?
Yeah, it's completely free. It's 30 days of support. Thank you, Michael. It starts with 5 days, and it's about a 30 to 40 minute video each day for 5 days. And those are the inner skill sets for being in very challenging times. We begin to develop that. And it's not anything different than what you would hear at Unity. It's just a different way of speaking it. And dark times, difficult times is no stranger to human experience. Right. It's just that we're in a collective dark night right now. And couple that with some people have more than just the pandemic. As a global experience, it's touched them personally. Mm-hmm. It's touched their job, it's touched their bank account, it's touched their relative or their friend. And so that amplifies the difficulty because it's so personal. And everyone has some personal version of this. So I just put this together as it comes out of decades of my work, having at times gone through some very, very difficult things in my life, researched and found, and some of it even comes out of St. John of the Cross's Dark Night of the Soul. So I put 5 trainings together, and then that's followed up with a short video from me each day. It's about 5 minutes long, but I'll tell a story or a quote or something. But what it does is, when we talked about vision and vibration, we'll get the vision in the first 5 days, and then we'll hold state for 30 days with the 5-minute mindset training in the morning. Because you're going to be on a mindset anyway. It's going to be an ain't awful, or hey, I'm going to win today, or you're going to be in a mindset. It's either conscious or unconscious. So this will help put you in a brave thinking mindset. Again,
Mary, you are such a friend to our community. I know you've really kind of moved beyond the church world in your work. You're taking this teaching out into the big, broad world. We would always welcome a visit from you if that is ever possible. But I would just want you to know how much your work does continue to thrive in this community and in me.
Unity of Houston is family to me. Of course I would.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, happy Mother's Day. Thank you for this time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your love. You're just doing so much good in the world. And thank you for sharing it with us today, Mary.
Blessings, everyone.
Thank you.